You know, a lot of games nowadays are just looking crazy. You know, we got the new God of War that tells this captivating story that combines over-the-top action and cinematography into a seamless one-scene action RPG. Then we got Detroit Become Human, literally breaking down piece by piece the idea of detail, storytelling, and world-changing choices that matter for once in a game. The gameplay is innovative, the graphics are stunning, and the story is engaging. But do you even remember even one OST from either of these games? Now, quick disclaimer, this video does not apply to everyone. However, I can make a general assumption that this could be applied to a large percentage of the gaming community. With that being said, let's start the video. It's unfortunate that a large portion of the gaming community focuses on
the graphics. That's really what this is all about.
Does anybody really care about the blood, sweat, and tears that music composers put together for these graphically intense games? Let me ask you a question. When you think of video game music, what's the most common response you think you'd get? Hold up, is that Super Mario Brothers? Oh, that is my shit. Super Mario Brothers, a game made over 2 decades ago, released with a soundtrack that retained as a musical icon to gamers now and then. Every stage in Mario had music that adjusted perfectly to the mood of where you were adventuring through. The bubbly feeling of being underwater, the sound of exploring a mysterious castle, and of course the classic theme song that resonated throughout the childhood of most gamers. Now let me ask you another question. When and if you played a game such as Horizon Zero Dawn, did you ever find yourself humming the tune from this game? Do you remember what it sounds like? Was there any part of that game that had a soundtrack that really stood out to you? Is that Ostrom Village? From Horizon Zero Dawn? Yo, that joint go hard, baby! Music is such an important aspect in gaming that gets overlooked more and more as the generations go on. The overwhelming rhythm of fast percussion, the underlying violins and an orchestrated chorus that you hear in countless of dramatic scenes in both movies and games. The modern day music in games are theatrical, but that's just about it. The human brain will not and cannot remember something that does not stick out. Let me give you an example. Think of a simple ballpoint pen. Your brain takes in the name of the pen, the object, the shape, its function, and the sound it makes when it's used on paper. Each part of your memory of what a pen is comes from a different section of your brain. Now let's move in closer and think about something more specific. A Bic pen. Can you tell me every detail about a Bic pen specifically? Its shape, the sound it makes when it's used on paper as opposed to other brands of pens? I sincerely doubt it. Hold up, is this a Bic pen? Ooh, that's my shit. There's nothing that makes this pen more significant than the other brands other than the name, hence why it's easier to forget. The same theory can be applied to music. What makes a song unique in video games? What makes it stand out? How and why does our brain pick and choose music to remember in some games and not in others? This can be compiled into 2 important reasons. The first reason being repetition. Our brains weren't specifically wired to remember music. However, like anything else, we're good at remembering a number of things that are repeated in our lives. Pianists can learn to remember and play an entire sonata perfectly by memory, and there are even some cases of people with amnesia who can't remember their own identity. Yet if they were some type of music artist who could sing in the past, dance, or play the piano as mentioned before, they could still retain that skill and memory somehow. So repetition is key to remembering a song in a game. Think about every time a gamer turned on Halo. No matter if it was the first entry or the latest entry, they remember hearing the beautiful symphony composed by Martin O'Donnell. The next reason is connections. When we usually remember a song, the first thing that sticks with us is the tone, right? That's why we can usually hum a song before we can remember the lyrics. When people remember a song, a lot of the times we connect it with something that happened in that part of our time when we heard the song. Whether it be a good memory or a sad one, it helps us retain that information. Games can do this with ease with crucial scenes of what's being unfolded on the screen to give a great sense of tone during our experience. For example, when I first played Metal Gear Solid 3 for the PS2, there was a scene right after you finish defeating the boss known as the End, where Naked Snake climbs an exceedingly long ladder in silence for a bit of time. After a few seconds, the silence was overlapped with music that gave the player a chance to recollect after fighting such a tiring boss.
In my time, there'll be no one else.
For almost 3 minutes, you are listening to Snake Eater sung beautifully by Cynthia Harrell. Hideo Kojima did a flawless job isolating your main focus on this very moment to complete a well-thought scene that blended the music tracks so well together. The point is that the song stuck out. This is because there was a connection between the music and what will be known as an iconic moment in Metal Gear Solid 3. Now, I'm gonna go a little bit off topic and tell you about my favorite video game music composer and how this relates to the point I'm trying to make. Yuzo Koshiro. This man single-handedly crafted the music of my gaming childhood. He is the music composer of a game for the Sega Genesis called Streets of Rage. He is also responsible for a large amount of games such as Sonic the Hedgehog, Shinobi, Shenmue, and Super Smash Bros. Brawl. But today we're just going to talk about Streets of Rage, specifically 2. Streets of Rage 2 is a fun game, but there really isn't anything that makes it too particularly special. The fighting mechanics were of your typical beat 'em up from the mid-90s, the graphics were well polished with shading and some impressive lighting done by a 16-bit console. The music, however, is what made this game what it is. Each stage, and I mean every single stage, had a complex and multi-layered piece of music that utilized 16-bit percussion, 90s techno, and hip-hop combined together to create a masterpiece of an OST. Even the title screen, which is arguably the most memorable song in the soundtrack, sneaks up at you at the final stage to give you this feeling of chill and morale as you course through the conclusion of this game. This is a perfect example of repetition and connection being used simultaneously. I was able to piece together a moment at the start of the game with the final stage to give me a sense of scale through music, informing me of how long my journey had been through the game. If that isn't memorable, then I don't really know what is. Okay, so I guess what I'm trying to say is, if developers spent a little more time giving players a chance to feel the music in games, it would make the experience of their game so much more memorable. The flow of video games today are so rushed and we barely get a chance to just sit down for a moment and just appreciate what composers put their heart and soul in to create these amazing OST for their games. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. What I want you to do now is comment below and let me know what your favorite video game song is. That would be amazing. I would love to know what your favorite song is. Maybe I'll look it up and I'll jam do it on my own time. Make sure you guys red hot kick that like button, comment below if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you already haven't. And as always, stay beautiful, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Take care of yourselves.